Chapter 18, Screen Direction and Staging, and some other stuff. Now, before we go any further, we're already at the 15-second point in this video, and over half of the people that clicked on this link have already left. Don't leave yet, okay? Now, as somebody mentioned a couple of episodes ago, sorry bro, I'm too ADHD to watch your talking video. That's kind of a good cross-section of people that are looking at the internet these days. So this is my saucy little drawing that I usually save for the halfway point in the video. I thought I would front load this drawing to sort of see if that changes the flow of traffic on this episode. I recorded myself kind of rendering this piece of artwork, so I'm going to include that later on in this episode. This is my last video, and as you can see, it was published over a month ago. It's going on 5 weeks now. So what have I been doing? Besides going to mushroom rehab, is I was busy pitching on a job. So this is quite often the case with freelance work is, you know, you need to do work to get work. And the more work you put into a pitch, and you're working for free, by the way, the better your chances are of securing a job. So that's just the nature of the way things are, you know, in the freelance animation landscape. Here's an example. Here's your typical animation pipeline. This covers all the various stages of production. But before you get to this point, you have to do some pitch work in order to get to the point where you're actually doing the production. And it's usually free. Once you present your pitch work, in a perfect world, you get a green light. And then you could start working on the production. In the case of 400 Boys, I ended up working about 6 months working on the pitch work for that project before I got the green light. And there was a few different reasons for that. This is what's referred to as the creative vision. And this isn't everything, but this is sort of a selection of some of the artwork that I had sort of pieced together over that 6-month period in my initial pitch for 400 Boys, which includes some character designs. You know, I kind of fleshed out the whole cast of characters. This is my first version of Bala there and how they all look together in a group. Some key frames from various points in the story. Some color setups. I wanted to sort of make the colors a little bit more pronounced in this short. But one thing was really clear from working on this pitch, and this was inherent in the script. This is going to be a very difficult undertaking because of the sheer amount of characters in this story. And this presents problems pretty much right across the board. You know, right from storyboarding to the layouts to the animation. You know, we don't have a huge crew. So once you get into multiple characters in any particular scene, it slows things down quite a bit. And so that kind of brings us back to the title of this episode today, which is Screen Direction and Staging. And for this, I want to refer to a film called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Okay, now I just want to direct your attention towards this one particular sequence in the movie. What's cool about this sequence is the way Sergio Leone, the filmmaker, how he manages the multiple characters in the shot, and he kind of resolves it in a very clean way. Okay, now let me just play through the sequence. Okay, so here comes Tuco. He's the bad, and this fellow enters on this side of the screen, and he shoots Tuco off the horse. Now, Tuco goes for his gun, and he realizes that he's surrounded. And as he gets up here, he's got 2 guys on either side of him here, and he's in the middle. That's pretty straightforward. Now, as we cut to the reverse angle, another guy appears to show that he's surrounded by 3 people. Here's the 3rd guy. Now notice how everybody's attention is directed towards Tuco in the middle of the frame. And so this guy, he pulls out this poster. It's a funny picture of Tuco there. And then they hear Clint Eastwood speaking from off screen. And now all their attention is directed off screen as Clint Eastwood walks into frame. Kind of a reveal of this character. And this is a kind of a cool thing here. As Clint Eastwood enters the frame, he obscures Tuco completely, where we don't see him anymore because he's behind Clint Eastwood's head. And these two guys, they scoot in on either side just to make this like perfect composition. So it kind of reduces the scene down to Clint Eastwood and these three bad guys right here. Now this is the pivotal shot. Is Clint Eastwood is such a significant character in this sequence that the whole shot gets rearranged to accommodate him. Not only does the camera relocate, but the characters all move back to basically position themselves so that there's opposing forces on either side of the frame. Now that we have the establishing shot, all their eyes are directed towards this side of the screen. It's subtle, but they're all kind of looking towards screen left there. Now, Clint Eastwood eliminates everybody else in the screen, which now just reduces the composition down to Tuco and Clint Eastwood, which is exactly right, because these are our main characters. The other character, the minor characters don't get to establish screen direction. Now at this point, I'm just going to divide the screen in half. And now we have the two main characters, and they're opposing each other. And notice how neither one of them cross the center point of the screen. And this is because these characters are equal. They're considered equal. I mean, Clint Eastwood's a bit taller than Eli Wallach here. And then Clint Eastwood's got some clever dialogue here. And I'm just going to play this through to the next shot here, because what I think is cool is he puts the cigar in his mouth, and then we cut forward in time, and he spits the cigar out, which is a cool little touch there. I mean, this is kind of fucked up, but I mean, if I was storyboarding this, I would have flopped the direction so that Tuco is going back. His direction here is going this way. I would have had him going the opposite direction in this shot, so that Clint Eastwood has kind of brought him back so he can collect the bounty. But I mean, look, that's neither here nor there. I mean, obviously Sergio Leone is a much better filmmaker than I am. Bring it back to 400 Boys, and I'll show you how I applied some of those staging ideas from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on 400 Boys. The problem was the script. It had a lot of complicated staging just because of the sheer number of characters that were in it. So my main concern was to try to simplify things as much as possible. So the first thing I did was I mapped everything out. So basically the story starts here, and they proceed along a straight line where they encounter the 400 Boys, and then they have their final battle here. To simplify it one step further, they go from A to B. In terms of dividing the screen, you know, you get Slash on one side, and he always faces towards screen right. Whereas the 400 Boys are on the opposing side of the screen, and they're always facing screen left. And I determined this simply because Slash had a scar on one side of his cheek. So I thought, you know, let's have him, that side of his face always facing the camera. That one thing basically determined the screen direction for the rest of the film. So to expand it one step further, Slash and his little crew of people are always facing towards screen right, And the 400 boys, there's 3 of them, they're always facing screen left. Now, as Slash and his crew, as they're proceeding towards screen right, they encounter first Hilo. As they approach Hilo, Hilo's facing the opposite direction, but then his screen direction gets realigned so they're all basically traveling in the same direction. And then they also encounter Bala and a couple of Galrogs. Then she also gets realigned so her direction is facing towards screen right. So basically we have all the characters which are opposing the 400 boys, and they're all always looking towards screen right, and the 400 boys are always looking towards screen left. So this one little bit of decision making really simplifies the staging and the storyboarding throughout the whole thing. And let me just show you how I applied that. Here's the 400 boys. There they are in their bunker. This whole scene, I'm not so much worried about the overall screen direction because we're just introducing characters and they're kind of oriented around the gun anyways. So this whole interaction doesn't matter because I kind of wanted it to look a little chaotic anyways. When Slash gathers up his crew and he proceeds to move, his scar is facing the camera because I told you he's only got the scar on one side of his face, and then he exits the scene going screen right. Now as we see them again, they appear and I'm directing them towards the right. And then we see them in the next scene, they're going right. They see Hilo, and Hilo here, he's oriented the other direction. So they encounter him coming the other direction. He's the first opposing force that they come across. Now, after some conversation, what ends up happening is he becomes aligned with the rest of the brothers, and then he gets redirected towards their general direction of movement, which is towards screen right. So then we proceed to the next sequence. We've got a couple of different shots. They're just basically, covering some distance here, kind of opening up the timeline and the geography a little bit. So now they confront the Galrogs. And so as we go into the next sequence here, I wanted them to look like they were being surrounded, which is why I had that Galrog cross behind so that they're coming up from behind them, so that they're forced to look back. And then as they approach, Bala's the first one to sort of surround the brothers, and basically Slash and Hilo. And then, as we progress through this sequence, they decide to team up. Now they've also been redirected so that they're all basically going towards screen right. So it's all just sort of cleaning up all the staging. Otherwise it could get pretty unwieldy pretty quick if you kind of don't know where to put your camera. So again, every opportunity I have them proceeding towards the right. Always towards the right. And then now they're looking. Finally we introduce the 400 boys. And as they approach, you see how that's coming from the right towards the left, opposing forces right here. And then now, you could argue that this is a straight shot, so this is fairly neutral. But, as you get to the reaction shot, they're looking towards the right. Now I've reoriented the 400 boys to establish the, opposing sides of the screen here. Now we get into the battle where things could get pretty complicated, but knowing what I know, the 400 boys are always going to be on one side of the screen, and everybody else will be facing the opposite side of the screen. I mean, you could argue that this is maybe taking things a little bit too far into the simplistic kind of direction. I mean, I'm okay with that. Okay, so the whole thing, they're always going towards screen right. Oh, well, I mean, he looks back because Jade got kicked into a car, so he has to look back for a second. But when he redirects himself towards the 400 boys, you know that they're always going to be on that side of the screen. Okay, and I could just scroll this throughout. It's always going to be the same kind of arrangement here up until we get the final scene. So Slash, being our main character, he gets to, to take us through the outro here. And this just kind of reinforces the screen direction, which we've already established right from the very beginning. So that's it. Look, I'm not going to get into anything more elaborate than that. Like I said, this is all just basically about screen direction. So let's go to the comments section here. Let's see what we got in terms of comments. Thanks for the insight. I learned a lot, but it was too much to take in all at once, to be honest. My impulse on these YouTube videos I'm doing is probably to like add more to them for some reason. I think I feel sort of compelled to sort of bring something to the table, but maybe I should try to sort of focus more specifically on less stuff. And I don't know. I'm going to take that advice on board and see how it goes. This is also from Anonymous. It's so cool seeing the clear influence you had on a lot of the Gorillaz animated works. Well, that's a nice comment, but I'm afraid you have that completely backwards, because in regards to like influence, I'm pretty sure it's been one-way traffic going the opposite direction. You can look at my work and you can see the clear influence of Gorillaz basically on all my works since like 2002. But I don't know if that's necessarily holds true going the opposite direction. In fact, I mean, I look at the Gorillaz, I don't see any. I'm pretty sure I don't have any influence on Jamie's style. But I mean, that's nice of you to say that. I know that the videos don't get a lot of viewership, but please keep making these. That's a funny comment because I thought I was doing pretty good. Dude, what are you talking about? I'm totally happy with the amount of views I'm getting on these videos. It kind of is what it is. Oh, one thing that I should point out here as we're sort of segueing into the next sort of segment here is Tom has finally figured out how to include the merch underneath these videos. So, I mean, that's a huge step forward because, I mean, if you were at all interested in picking up some of the merch, you just fucking click on it and you go right there. So, I mean, how cool is that? Well, let me just demonstrate that here. I mean, one thing that I'm super excited about was on my last video, I came up with a design, which I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think it's fucking dope. What else we got? So Tom's kind of done the once over on this, and he has figured out a few things, which probably we should have figured out earlier, was how to include customs and shipping onto all the orders. I think we had a bunch of abandoned carts, and maybe when people have to take into consideration the shipping and everything else, it sort of makes people think that they have second thoughts about buying stuff. But now everything is basically included in one price. Now, not to get overly political, but I've always been a big Bush supporter. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I wanted to sort of just sort of share this screen recording that I did, adding my new rendering technique onto this drawing, which was done quite a few years ago. The original drawing had kind of a funky sort of charm to it, which I kind of didn't want to lose. But as I started to get into the rendering of this, it became increasingly clear that the anatomy was really quite strange in a way. So the more realistic the rendering got, the more I felt compelled to kind of repair some of the strange anatomy here. It's a weird thing. When I'm recording the screen and I'm drawing, I kind of get this weird feeling like I'm being watched, and I kind of don't feel that comfortable doing it, even though I'm by myself. So, I mean, I keep doing it with the hope that I'll try to, catch lightning in a bottle at some point and something amazing will happen, but Now let's just, for fun, let's just run through the layers here. Okay, so this was the original drawing. These two were kind of my fixed layers, before and after, before and after. I got a layer of shadows there and a layer of highlights. This is exactly what I was talking about, like, you know, the leg was not bad, but, you know, I copied and pasted this leg and used it for the other side there. Oh, then I had, you know, I didn't really screen record this, but, you know, I had to fix this funky little dude with the proper looking campaign manager there, who's very excited about, you know, wearing his bush hat around. And then there's the rendering on the hat. Oh, then I have another layer, like fine-tuning shadows. And then, you know, in the spirit of, you know, Gustav Klimt, which is, I actually just photobashed some Gustav Klimt material in there. And then, you know, everything looks better when you put the highlights on, but you got to darken everything up a little bit, and then you put the highlights on top of it. And then you get that nice contrast with the highlights there. Oh, this is a cool ass thing. I mean, look, I wrote some clever little something. I don't know if it's clever or not, but I wrote something in his word balloon. Now, if anybody can guess what's written inside the word balloon, I will send them a drawing. I'm not taking any commissions. You know, I'll pick which goddamn drawing I send out, so it'll be a surprise. But, you know, it'll be a little drawing, and I'll take care of the shipping. Now, I guarantee nobody's going to guess exactly what's written. It's a short phrase, and but whoever guesses the most words, I guess we'll get the free drawing. So put your answers in the comment section below. And then I got, you know, everything's got my logo on it these days. And the skull, which didn't look good unless I reversed it. Now here's the thing. There's the grade. That sort of integrates everything in together. I won't go into my grade layer, but let's go through these layers again with the grade on it. So this is the original piece of artwork. Here's the grade. And then now I'll step through these layers again. Shadow, highlight, leg fix, campaign manager, hat rendering, another layer of shadow. It's the flat fabric pattern. There's the darkness. There's the highlights. There's the funny little thing. And then there's the branding right there. Boom. That's the finished image. And then we can go back and forth. So you tell me, you know, which one you prefer. There's things about this I suppose I like. It only works because the drawing is funky, you know. You can see how the chin is sort of sheared off here, and it's got this gibbled section here in the arm, and, you know, I don't know what's going on with that arm right there. And, you know, once you start to go in, again, it's kind of hard to know when to stop. So that's it for this video. And remember, not to subscribe or fucking follow, and don't tell your fucking friends. You know, there's nothing here for you. You know, we're at 22,500 subscribers. Let's try to get that number back down to 22,000.